who really has influence over the colleges and conservative media and conservative pundits and some of the bigger players in Washington. This will blow your mind. Wait till you hear Qatar's amount of people versus their goal and investment in America, in UK, and other players all around the world to have influence and impact, to be the shining light for everyone. Everyone talks about Israel, but it's way bigger with Qatar. We're going to discuss that, and that's why they're in this discussion with Tucker and all that. Hear the money. Wait till you hear the money. We're going to hear exactly from this journalist that states exactly what's happening. So we'll talk about that. Also, we're going to discuss what Alex Jones says. He pleads with Candace to stop this madness. He says, I'm going to have to call her out. So he's doing an exposure and bombshell about some of the witnesses and the people that she has called, you know, the ones that know all the goods and the insiders. And he says, truthfully, her insiders are getting debunked each and every day. He's pleading with her to stop. Now, this comes after Matt Walsh pleads with her, Tim Pool pleads with her, and now we see just a complete, utter dismay in the right, in the conservative movement. Now, one thing I do like is Benny Johnson, when he got on stage, he didn't take the time to worry about destroying this side or that side. He literally said, our enemy is not ourselves. It is not each other. It is the other side. Maybe we can see a future in people like Benny who are wanting to make the coalition back, and let's focus on the other side and winning elections. That's what Charlie wanted. And lastly, we're going to discuss a new mission by the DOJ, which I personally think Pam Bondi's a joke, but they're getting tasked by J.D. Vance. He reposted some things, and he says, if we don't stop this problem, there will be no America to come back to. What is he talking about? It should leave you speechless. We kind of know what was going on during Obama and Biden years, but wait till you hear this story about how the white man is worthless, and they held them down. You know, the equal opportunity, you know, working, jobs, mortgages. Somehow the government decided to say, well, we're going to leave the white people out. And J.D. Vance and DOJ are going after them. Let's talk about all these stories today, so many more. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here. Again, humbled each and every day you come back. So we appreciate you. Please share this if there's something in here that makes you say, you know what, this is thought-provoking, gives wisdom and common sense. Share it with your friends, your family, and hopefully we can gain more knowledge as we try to navigate this crazy world that we live in. Now let's jump into the stories of the day. First, let's talk about the situation with Qatar. I want you to listen to this before we go to Alex Jones and Candace, because it all kind of goes together. We've allowed for problems and infiltration and manipulation by foreign governments with our bureaucracy, with our politicians, but now with conservative media. I want you to listen to what this guy just said.
Qatar is a country, it's a tiny country in the Middle East. It has less than 350,000 citizens.
Oh.
Tiny country.
Yeah.
Qatar is giving more money to British education, to Canadian education, higher education, to American universities than any country in the world. So why would this tiny, wealthy country give so much money to Western democratic universities? And it's to use soft power to influence it. And the Qataris have a bay'ah. In Islam, a bay'ah is a spiritual oath to the Muslim Brotherhood. The royal family of Qatar follows all the religious edicts, rulings, and fatwas of the Muslim Brotherhood. They basically represent the Brotherhood around the world. And we estimate that the Qataris are using up to $1 trillion in assets, $1 trillion, to use as soft power to buy favor in universities, in our media, in our political leaders, to further their goals and their agenda.
Qatar has 331,000 people, and they are investing over $1 trillion into higher education institutes in the UK, Canada, and US. Why? Is it because they want influence of changing thought patterns of Muslims in Qatar and the vision of Israel and Christianity to the youngest among us? And then those people are the ones that are raising families. That's why you're starting to see this indoctrination where all these kids coming out of college absolutely hates Christianity and Israel, and even on the right, you're starting to see that splinter. I mean, if you watched any of the TPUSA events, the AMFES events, the amount of people that are siding with Fuentes and Myron Gaines and Candace Owens, is infiltrating something that Charlie never wanted. I love when people say, well, Charlie, he loved, arguments. He loved debate. He didn't love it when you tried to platform things that he didn't believe in. Fuentes was one of them. And if you watch his events, when someone would say something so just convoluted and crazy, he'd call them out and shout them out and say, no, we're not even going to talk like that at this event. See, here's the thing. We are debasing our own conservative movement by people like this that are infiltrating and manipulating us by buying influence in America. If it Megyn Kelly, if it be Candace, if it be Tucker Carlson, if it be any of these people, ultimately we're seeing the impact of influence. Now you can say, well, it's on the other side too. It could be. So therefore, why don't we just ground ourselves in Christian values, in faith, what America was set up on, and let's focus on being America first. Fine with that. But don't blame Israel. Don't blame all these others when we see the infiltration from Qatar is way worse. And did you hear what the guy said? He said they're actually working for the Muslim Brotherhood. This is a group that we don't know as terrorists in America, and we're allowing this to take place in America. Now, what's heartbreaking is this destroying the Republican movement. I want to go to what Benny Johnson said, because again, Benny Johnson was one of the good friends of Charlie Kirk. He's got a great following. I mean, he's grown exponentially. But I want you to listen to what he says. It says, Benny Johnson tells conservatives the real enemy within the country isn't on the right. It's not amongst ourselves. It's on the left. He says attention should be focused on left wing, and he's fed up with left wing violence. Our goal should be talking about the left and making sure that we are working with President Trump, not against him. And this is what Charlie Kirk wanted. This is why they took him out, because he wanted one thing, a coalition to not infight, but to focus on the other side. Well, again, I've told you, if you watched any of these events, for the most part, it was like infighting. And when we infight, we don't focus on the right thing. And when we don't focus on the right thing, we're missing out on what's actually happening. Let's go back to what the guy said about Qatar. Do you realize that Qatar owns more of the UK lands than the UK British family does? They have more impact and infiltration in the UK government, along with owning more land than the British Empire owns in UK. America's schools, one of the biggest providers of money coming in from overseas is Qatar. So why are we saying that that impact and that influence doesn't matter? It matters wholeheartedly, because they're not assimilating to our views. They don't want our views. They want their views, and their views are to take over America. Why can we not just state that for the obvious record? Prime example, Tucker got up and stated about how we should be friends with Muslims and all that. I want you to listen. Now, if you are someone who likes libertarianism, independent thought patterns, conservative, but still kind of more to the middle, Tulsi Gabbard, you probably love Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, she's one of those ones, she's like a juggernaut when it comes to the middle, the RFK, the independents. Did you know what she said on stage? She said, the worst threat we face is Islamification of America and Islamification of the world, building these extreme radicals. I heard an interview yesterday that said, Islamification is not building radicals. They're just going along with their faith, and their faith is making a radical ideology that takes over the world. And why can't we admit that? This guy was a Coptic Christian from Egypt. He said, we never would have thought Egypt would have been taken over by Muslims. Before, it was a Christian nation. We focused on living for Christ. He said, then slowly but surely Islam started growing, and then all of a sudden it took over, and Christianity is frowned upon and actually is persecuted against. I talked to a guy that just got back from India. They went to India, spent time there. He said it was, it is what it is. You go to these resorts, and then everywhere else is like a third world country. He said, but one thing I've noticed, he said, where we went in, there was a place where Thomas, Doubting Thomas, Thomas the disciple, that's where he did his ministry before he died. And he said you could see an influx of churches in that area and Christians in that area. He says, great. He said, but what people don't realize is India has become the fastest growing Muslim nation other than places like America and the UK. He said because they've learned how to make sure that their religion grows and impacts the whole culture. And he says you can see it down there how much it's taking over even in India. See, if we allow this to take place in America and don't call a spade, kind of like Tulsi Gabbard is saying exactly what Charlie Kirk said just 2 weeks before he passed, is that this is the danger that we're facing. And the reason we're probably not hearing that enough is because the amount of trillions of dollars that's been invested from our tax dollars going to these Middle Eastern countries, but also the oil-rich countries that they become, are spending money over here to tell you how bad America and Israel is, and people like the white man. It's amazing to me that we've allowed for this to take place, and I cannot believe that we as conservatives and as Christians and as Republicans have been more brainwashed, I think, sometimes than the left when it comes to this one thing. Now that moves me right on to Alex Jones. I want you to listen to this little snippet he did this morning, and he was talking about exposing something that's got to be exposed, because all the people that she's bringing on, Candace is bringing on to tell these stories and to I guess break the ice and be the insider. He said most of them are getting debunked, and he was fixing to debunk another one, and he's just pleading with her, please pray for Candace, because ultimately she has lost her way. She's lost her way. And when Alex Jones says that, that's a pretty big deal, because you're talking about a man who can, who could say a lot of truths, but say a lot of other crazy things too. But he's pleading. He's saying, look, we have to balance ourselves out. Now, you can question anything. He said, but what you're doing is you're throwing your own views into it versus questioning what actually happened. And I think that's so true in any personal opinion. We all may have personal opinions. You may have a personal opinion. I do too. And if we allow that to be such a bias that we don't want to see the truth for what it is, then we have a problem. It's kind of like the Epstein thing. I think that we should not be covering up. I believe we should unredact every bit of it and release it. I like Kash Patel, like Donald Trump, like this whole administration. But to be honest with you, they are blowing it. And that's why their poll numbers are showing it, because they're not releasing the files. Just release them. And therefore, let the cards fall as they may. Whoever goes down with the ship goes down with the ship. So you call a spade, but if we allow our biases to say, well, no, we don't need to release them, then what we're doing is we're playing the same thing. We're covering up for our side just because. We can't do that. And I like what Alex Jones says here. I really do. I like what he says. It's, look, you can question anything. There's some crazy things going on with maybe Kirk's death, whatever, but question the right sources. Don't just put your biases in it. And he said, because what you've done is you've manipulated your audience, and is tearing up the conservative movement. Again, Matt Walsh said this. I mean, of course, Ben Shapiro and all of them said that, but Matt Walsh, Tim Pool, some of the people that stood with Candace for so long, PBD, Patrick Bet-David, now it's shown some of her confidants, some of the people that trust her are calling her out. And that's a pretty big deal. I want you to listen to this.
As most of you that pay attention know, I am not the internet police. I don't infight. I don't try to focus on what other people are theorizing about or doing. I try to focus on what I'm doing. And so it's with a heavy heart that I am forced to put out another report, either tonight or tomorrow morning. We're adding a lot of information right now, a lot more research, dealing with Candace Owens. Just as soon as the whole Egyptian plane thing gets debunked with all the facts, now she's moved to something else, and I'm really worried about her. I'm worried about her and her mind, and I'm also worried about the country and where this is going. It's good to question Charlie Kirk's assassination. I have big questions. We know Kash Patel covered up an investigation into accomplices. I broke that. I'm up before it hit the mainstream news. So I'm not saying don't question. But her latest source and what she's done, implicating the U.S. military and all this other stuff, is just so damaging. And when you go investigate it, it's so crazy.
We've got to balance ourselves out and base ourselves back around, just like what Benny Johnson said, focusing on the issues with the other side and pushing them hard. I'm going to be honest with you. Vivek, I think, speaks with a lot of wisdom. There's things about Vivek, like his faith, that I would be fully against. Tulsi Gabbard, Harmeet Dillon, all these people, they're not based in Christian doctrine. However, I would much rather Vivek win than someone like a Memdani win. See, here's where you have to decide, okay, we either build a coalition not to take away from Christian values or our conservativeness, but we try to help the coalition grow where we can thrive in and work together. Now, there's some things that I don't like that some politicians do that's on the conservative side. I don't like politicians getting in front of the audience and cursing all the time. Trump's one of them. But here's what I'm saying. We have to learn to build the coalition, what Benny said, and even what Charlie did. If we don't build that coalition, what we're going to do is we're just going to make so much infighting on the right to where we're going to lose every election from here on out, and where we're going to become Australia when they took all the the Second Amendment rights away, or you're going to become Canada, where they're literally destroying Bibles and artwork in churches because it hurts the feelings of Muslims, or it's going to be like UK, where they're going to throw you into prison for tweets that you make about conservatism. Those things are happening, and if we don't quit infighting, we're going to allow that stuff to happen right here in America. The last story I want to bring up is dealing with J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, again, dude, he has some ways again, but I think he actually is hitting on some issues that a lot of people are not. The Trump administration and the DOJ, again, kind of spearheaded by J.D., are announcing a investigation into discrimination against white individuals, against the white men that have become victims of this equal opportunity of hiring and equal opportunity of getting the opportunities that everybody else is. From the school systems that are getting major tax dollars, like the Harvards, the Browns, the Cornells, to even their workforce when it comes to the federal government, that they said that conservative white men were getting passed over. So that is racism. We don't want to admit to it, but it's the exact same thing. So what we're saying is we've preached so hard that pendulum has swung to where now the conservative white man doesn't have the opportunities that others do. They said that most schools, most Ivy League schools, were dumbing down their values of applications and acceptance to help other colored people get there, other than Asian men and conservative white men. They were going to work to help other races get into their schools to be the doctors and so forth that they're wanting them to be. Now, does that seem honest? Well, J.D. Vance and DOJ says we're not going to allow it anymore. Now, if we allow the DOJ to do it in Pam Bondi, I don't know if anything's going to get done. But I do hope that this could be a call to J.D. Vance to say this is a good place to be. Because, again, we're trying to build this coalition. We may not all get along, but we should get along the fact that no one should be discriminated against no matter what. And the government especially is supposed to be this equal opportunity hire, and the school systems that get tons of our tax dollars should be allowing whomever get the job, as long as they're merit-based, to where whomever gets the highest grades, whoever gets the benefits, whoever it may be, is the ones that get accepted. However, they're not allowing that to take place. So I'm glad this investigation is going on, and I'm hoping that they blow the water off these places. Honestly, what I hope they do, I hope the schools quit getting paid. I hope colleges lose all their funding from the taxpayer. I have yet to understand, if I choose not to go to Cornell or Oxford, or we choose not to go to Harvard, we choose not to go to Yale, we choose not to go to whatever school that may be getting money, it's unfair that I'm having to pay for someone else to go there. It's wrong. They have tons of endowments, tons of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars some of these schools have. And the federal government still gives money to them. I don't get that. I don't understand any government subsidizing any part of our lives. That's where I am a libertarian. I want government out of my life. So I don't understand why we're even giving money to these places. I don't understand why our government is getting bigger. You know, the numbers for employment were actually down a little bit this time. They were like, well, inflation's down, but the employment numbers down. Actually, employment numbers are not down. Private companies are hiring. However, public jobs are leaving. That's a good thing. Sorry people are losing jobs, but our federal government should not be the biggest employer in the nation. Should not be the federal government, and it's one of the biggest employers in the world is our federal government. That's ridiculous. So I do like the fact that instead of making it more equal opportunity, we should just get rid of a lot of these jobs. Same way with the college just getting our money, we should just get rid of that instead of giving more money to it just to bring in, no discrimination versus anyone. Let's just make it where colleges have to do their own job and pay for their own thing. I don't get subsidies for my job. I have to work and make money, and if it doesn't make it, it doesn't make it. The government's not bailing me out. We've just got so many things topsy-turvy, and I think until we can figure out, quit fighting amongst ourselves and start working towards one goal, nothing will get accomplished. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today's video, and what's your thoughts on guitar? What's your thoughts on Alex Jones? What's your thoughts on Kansas? I want to hear in the comments below. Give me your thoughts, because it helps us have discussions in our communities to figure out what's best. And should we just say, sometimes we don't get along with everything, but we should work towards the fact that we know we don't get along with Zohran Mamdani. We know we don't get along with Gavin Newsom. We know we don't get along with Nancy Pelosi. Well, why don't we do that? That might be the best way. Let me know your thoughts. God bless.